The Avs shared their AHL team with the St. Louis Blues this year. That caused a lot of issues at times, and a lot of them fell on the shoulders of JC Beaudin. Let me start off by saying that if the Avs wanted to play JC at the AHL level more, they absolutely could have, but because they hate developing players, I guess, they just decided not to. In preseason this year, JC ended up getting hurt in the rookie tournament, taking a puck to the hand. He would be fine in time for the start of the regular season, though, and then a couple days before the start of the AHL season, the Avs decided to send him to the ECHL and the Colorado Eagles. Now, initially, I didn't really have too much problem with this. A first-year pro, he needs to get his feet wet in pro hockey. Sending him to the ECHL for a handful of games is a good way to do that. JC looked a little bit shaky in the first couple of games, but after that, he would rattle off a 7-game point streak across which he would put up 11 points, and it seemed like he was ready for the AHL. However, the Avs, slow moving as ever, would keep him down there for another month until near the end of November. Once up in the AHL, things started well for JC, scoring 3 points in his first 4 AHL games. Things did get a bit shaky from there for him. At times he would disappear for games, but again, that's to be expected from a first-year pro. Despite not producing much across this time in the AHL, he was creating quality opportunities and was often one of the better players on the ice, at least in my opinion, for the Rampage. From the end of November to near the end of January, JC would be an off-again, on-again player for the Rampage, playing a lot, but occasionally seeing scratch time as well. Eventually, the Rampage roster started filling up again for one, and for two, the Colorado Eagles were desperate for bodies, so they sent him back down to the ECHL. As I move to kind of foster the relationship with the Eagles and them coming to the AHL very soon, I get this, but really, JC should have stayed in the AHL for the rest of the year from that point. Upon returning to the ECHL, JC lit that league on fire, recording 3 assists in his first game back, and would continue to produce as he was down there for the rest of the month and into February. By the middle of February, the Avs had finally realized that JC had passed the ECHL level of hockey and brought him back to the Rampage, where he would finish out the regular season basically with them. This stint in the AHL was unfortunately a bit too similar to the first one. Although JC was providing quality offense most of the time, he was often stuck in the bottom 6 with less skilled players, and his play wasn't showing up in the points category. Beyond his offensive play, JC is one of the best face-off men the Avs have in their organization, and he's also an extremely defensively responsible forward. Even in the Wild West that is the ECHL defensive structure, JC was always the forward back covering the point when a defenseman pinched and the like. It's a good skill to have, especially for someone like JC, who just doesn't have that physical aspect of his game really at all. He even said it himself when I interviewed him that all throughout his career he's been told to play harder, as in more physical, and that's just really not part of his game. Eventually, at the end of the AHL season, JC was sent back down to the Eagles for their playoff run, and boy is it a good thing that they had him. Through the first 2 playoff series for the Eagles, JC was straight up the best player on the team, even better than Michael Jolie, providing massive offense. Unfortunately, in the conference finals, it became clear that he was playing through a bit of an injury, and he even had to miss out on a couple of games in that series because of it. So that did slow him down a bit, and it took him out of the MVP conversation for the playoffs at least, but still, the Eagles definitely don't go on to win the Kelly Cup without him. Ultimately, JC had 7 goals and 20 assists for 27 points in 30 ECHL games. On top of that, he had 7 points in 34 AHL games, and 8 goals and 10 assists for 18 points in 24 ECHL playoff games. Based on the season as a whole, I'm going to give JC a C+ grade, and to be clear, that's about as good as he could do based on the way the Avs played him. He proved he was far better of a player than what should be in the ECHL, but how many steps did he really take to becoming an NHLer? Well, not that many, because the Avs just didn't give him the opportunities to progress that much. Furthermore, the majority of Beaudin's playing time was at center, and realistically, if he wants to make the Avs, he's gonna have to switch to wing. Not only do the Avs already have a bunch of centers on their roster, but behind that they have players like Kamenev, Tony Nato, Dickinson, Shiverev, even Barron has played some center. There's just too many players there, whereas there are openings at the wings. With a lot of wingers taken in this year's draft class, they're all mostly still 2 or 3 years away except for Kaut, so that's a hole that Beaudin could fill. The big thing for Beaudin in this coming season is he has to show up on the scoreboard. He needs to be producing points, especially if he's going to move to wing. I absolutely believe that he has the talent to do so, at least at the AHL level, but he has to be given the opportunity as well. That is the end of this player's season review. Thank you for watching. I did turn up the volume some on my mic. I know you guys were asking for that, so let me know if it's loud enough or if I should turn it up more. I'm Rudo3, and now we wait.